All right, guys, how you doing out there? Coach Brien Shamp here. So today we're going to chat about sleep. It is considered primal need number three in my coaching model. So here's what we got. So some of you have not heard about the primal need. So I created this a while back because sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to think about all the things we should do, could do, right? So we need to work out, we need to drink water, we need to eat, we need to sleep, right? All it gets pretty complex sometimes, or can feel overwhelming. So what I did was I did a hierarchy a number of years ago. Because I'd have a lot of people call me up and say, Brien, I just love to do your workouts. Can you tell me how much they are? And I get these calls all the time, and I would often ask, hey, what's your goals? Someone would say, I want to lose 30, 40 pounds. And like, great. So you want to do workouts? Awesome. Great. Are you doing any workouts now? They're like, yeah, maybe yes or no, whatever. Right. But then I would ask, do you have any injuries? And oftentimes people say, yeah, I got a bunch of injuries. And, so now I know they have some injuries and they want to lose weight. And now I'm already thinking that I'm going to be another fail in their history of exercise programs. And I don't like people to not be successful. So I kind of I often go into, hey, what are you following a nutrition program? How's your stress and different things? And usually they don't want to answer these questions. They're like, yeah, I just want to know how much it costs. How much does it cost to work out with you? And I'm like, well, I got, approximately $200 a month, blah, blah, blah. But I go, based upon your goal, I don't really think this is going to work for you if you just do our workouts, because exercise is such a minimal piece of the puzzle when it comes to weight loss, fat loss, health, hormones, digestion. There's a lot of other things that are really more important. I go, I'd love to, dive deeper with you, but I just don't know if the workouts are going to be the best thing for you by itself. I'd love to meet you and talk about other options. So anyway, that's kind of my intro. So, and then I started realizing, like, people would, of course, call me because I was a workout guy, but there's so many other things that are more important. And at one point in time, 20 years ago or so, I prioritized these. So, the people here on the call have heard these before, but for you ladies, so number one is breathe. So primarily number one is breathing. If we're not breathing, we're dead. So we can only go about 5 minutes without air. And a lot of people, like, we argue things, right? Like, yeah, I never heard that dairy thing before. That's bullshit. Whatever. Like, that gluten thing, that's a myth. So everybody will have their own theories. And, I'm a vegan, I don't eat meat, or I'm a meat eater, I don't do vegan stuff. So we can argue about these things. But at the end of the day, there's some tried and true facts. We need to breathe, right? We need water, number two. So primal need number two is water, right? And specifically, but it's not just about water. Like, we need electrolytes. So whenever I say hydration, electrolytes is a key piece. Number three is sleep, right? Number three used to be food, but then I had a sleep expert call me out. He said, Brien, actually, I think sleep is more important than food. I'm like, well, tell me why. He goes, well, Brien, you can only go about 11 days without sleep before you die. Like, interesting. Did not know that. So you can go about 21 days without food before you die, for the most part. And then water, you got about 7 days before serious problems happen if you're dehydrated or lacking water. Like, even 1 to 2% lack of hydration, significant impairments. So it's pretty important. So I'm a big fan of not just drinking water, but more importantly, salts. So that's a whole other topic, but we need salt, like magnesium, sodium, those are the key ones, potassium. And then if we throw a little bit of salt in our water, we actually get water in our cells better. Sleep is a big one. That is our topic today. Number four is food. Number five is love. Six is mindset. Number seven is exercise or movement. Okay. So, number three, sleep, your most powerful recovery tool, and what the science actually says. So, why sleep is non negotiable? It's the foundation for mental health, cognitive performance, and physical recovery. Every other health habit is diminished when sleep is poor. You cannot out train or out eat bad sleep. according to Dr. Andrew Huberman. You guys ever heard of him? Andrew Huberman. So he is a Stanford professor and probably the number one podcast, or at least in the top five. So the Huberman podcast. So he's a big sleep guy. He's a neuroscientist, and he's always trying to figure out or trying to optimize health and wellness. So, if you want to listen to some stuff about peptides, he just did one recently on peptides, talking about gray market, compound pharmacies, where to get them, and things to be careful of as well. Okay. So I've taken some things. I mean, I've taken this stuff. This has been created over years, but I have a whole hour. I normally talk at least an hour. I talk about this stuff to clients, but this is going to be a very quick version. So goal is 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I thought this is an interesting thing. Our sleep cycles are 90 minutes. Do y'all know that? 90-minute sleep cycles. So in the ideal world, we want to time it. So like I thought about this last night when I went to bed. My goal was to be asleep from 11 to 6:30. That's 7.5 hours. So that gives me 5 cycles, right? So ideally, we're trying to get 4 to 6 cycles per night. But you ever wake up, you're like, God, I slept a long time, but I'm just kind of off. So we go through these different cycles every 90 minutes. So you go through a light sleep cycle, a deep sleep cycle, and an REM cycle. Does anybody have a Whoop or an Apple Watch or one of those? So those are getting more sophisticated. Do you ever look at your stuff on that?
Sleep score and stuff. Yeah.
Does it? I don't have an Apple Watch, but does it say deep REM?
You like your
And I don't know how accurate it is, but again, yeah. So some are more accurate than others, like the Aura Ring, if you ever heard of that. Aura Ring, I've been wanting to buy one of these, but a little pricey. But again, hey, if you could sleep better, it's worth it, right? I mean, long term, like it might be an investment, but these are interesting things that they might get you motivated to eat better, sleep better, whatever. But they are getting better and better at giving us information. So, like many people even send me their information, like Brien, I have, this many deep sleep hours, and I got better, and things are working. And then they're like, God, every time I drink wine, it reduces significantly. That's one that continues to be shared with me. Like wine and sleep do not go hand in hand. So find a different drink. And this is something you can play with, right? It's not about me telling people this. Like your actual wearables give us information if we use them. So you can kind of play around with. Have you ever noticed that? Like if I have wine versus tequila, high carb, low carb, it actually makes a difference. So play around. Yeah. So we have these different sleep cycles. 4 to 6 cycles per night is optimal. Now, some people who are getting, 3, 4 hours sleep, it's not going to work out very well if you do that, right? Over time, we're going to be losing that deep sleep, that REM sleep. And we need that because REM sleep leads to fat burning, mood disorders, and hormone disruption if we don't get that REM sleep. Okay, so just something to think about. All right, so there's a couple people that I like to look at their stuff by. Dr. Huberman, he's very long-winded, but if you think I'm long-winded, definitely listen to Dr. Huberman. His stuff's 2.5 hours. That's the hard part. So he says sleep is governed by 3 biological systems. Your circadian clock, which is set by light exposure. So one thing he talks about, which is pretty common nowadays, one little hack we can do to optimize our sleep is to get up in the morning. So part of a morning ritual for me and my recommendations for my clients are to get up within about 30 minutes and get 10 minutes of sunshine. So one of the best things we could do for hormonal balance, right? So we talked about hormonal balance for ladies and menopausal and perimenopausal stuff, but there's certain things we can do to optimize hormones. One is get that sunshine. So that increases cortisol, decreases melatonin, but then sets your clock 20, I think it's 12 to 14 hours later and releases melatonin at the appropriate time. This is really, really important for like travel. So if we travel, could be rough, right? To come back from a trip, say from Europe or Asia. I had that experience. It took me like a month to recover. I didn't know this back then, but ideally I would come back to this time zone and get sunshine within that first 30 minutes of waking, and then things would probably have sped up a little bit. Okay. Here's another system that Huberman talks about. It's called the adenosine system. Um, Sleep pressure. So apparently, this pressure of adenosine increases throughout the day, and then that's what actually makes us tired. So when we get tired at whatever it is, 3 in the afternoon to, you know, whenever it's at 8 p.m., it's because adenosine increases. And what caffeine does, I never knew this actually until yesterday. And reading this, caffeine actually blocks the receptors. So caffeine actually doesn't stimulate you per se. It actually reduces adenosine. Really interesting. So never knew that until yesterday myself. So he talks about, this is not even in here, but we really don't want to have caffeine for about 90 minutes first thing in the morning in order to optimize these adenosine receptors. So just interesting little fact. Temperature is another big one. So in order to get optimal sleep, we need to have a cool room, about 65 to 68 degrees, and your core must drop about 1 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit to initiate sleep. So on a hot day in Arizona, I know work out, big time, hot days in Placerville, El Dorado Hills, it gets pretty hot here. I just had a really improvement in my sleep by changing my sheets. So that's huge. So I'm using bamboo sheets. Anybody try bamboo sheets? I love those sheets. I got them at Quince. Everybody been to Quince? Quince is like an online store. It's discounted. Um,
We have a show in Costco every now and then.
okay. Yeah, I think I've seen them there too. Yeah. So Quince is like a pretty good place too. But bamboo sheets are really cool. So Marcia, if I think your house is hot, right? Especially right now, keeping the air conditioner down in the bay. The air conditioner gets expensive. I have solar, so um, solar is a good thing for air conditioners. So, what else? Here's a key insight. Morning sunlight exposure is 10 to 50 times more impactful on sleep quality than avoiding screens at night. So I often struggle with that. So if we can, if you're just not going to stop your screens before bed, which I'm probably not, because I'm usually doing some final emails or something, maybe watching a movie with my family, the morning sunlight thing would be much more important. Okay, ideally we do both. Okay, here's some notes from Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She's pretty amazing to listen to as well. She talks about doing a sauna or a hot bath 1 to 2 hours before bed in order to optimize growth hormone. So that's a really important one. And when we get sleep, we're increasing growth hormone. Do you guys know what growth hormone does? So growth hormone is something that people actually try to increase with another peptide, but it reduces visceral fat, increases sleep, and increases muscle mass. So people take growth hormone, like that's a thing. People take steroids, you'll take all kinds of things. So in order to gain more muscle mass and things like that. But we can naturally increase growth hormone with saunas. So we have a sauna here. So we could optimize our membership here. Go in a hot tub, that'd be great. Like you want to come here at night, sauna, hot bath, 1 to 2 hours before bed, very calming, increases growth hormone. That could actually help you lose body fat. It's another hormone. Another way to get growth hormone increases naturally is 30-second intervals. So, like my buddy wrote a book called Sprint 8 25 years ago. Sprint 8, you basically 30-second intervals 8 times, rest like 90 seconds or so, like hard as you can on a bike, recover. Hard as you can on a bike, recover. That optimizes growth as well. All right. And then sleep. If you don't sleep, you're not going to optimize growth hormone. So it's kind of this catch 22. We need growth hormone to sleep, and then you need sleep in order to increase growth. All right. Magnesium activates something called GABA receptors that calms the nervous system and supports sleep. Okay. So one of the most popular ones is magnesium glycinate. Anybody taking magnesium? Magnesium, you do. What are you taking?
Right here, the super foam
Super cool.
packet.
Okay.
It has magnesium.
Okay. Yeah, there's different types of magnesium. So magnesium citrate's good for constipation. Glycinate's better for calming the nervous system, muscle relaxation.
Yeah, I take, I think this one from the Thorn, like supplement.
Okay.
It's powder.
Yep.
I put in my water.
Yep. So Thorne's a good product. So we have a lot of Thorne products here as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can get you discounts. So yes. So we can talk about that. So omega 3s, another one. All right. Linked to improved sleep quality and REM sleep. So it's a note here. She has taken fish oils for 9+ years. Now, yeah, there's always a discussion like, hey, it's like this stuff gets expensive. So if you're consuming fish probably 3 times a week, probably don't need fish oils. Right? Just something to think about. So, but if you don't eat fish, probably want to think about fish oils. Okay. So according to Dr. Rhonda, regular sauna use is probably one of the most powerful stimuli, but for both growth hormone and prolactin. Both are critical for deep sleep and recovery. So heat. Okay. So 6 habits that transform your sleep. Morning sunshine. We already talked about that. Okay. Number 2, stop caffeine 10 to 12 hours before bed. We've all heard this before, right? Do we do it? Maybe not. It's easier to know it than do it. My wife is terrible on caffeine in the afternoon, but she continues to do it. So it could be a problem. For me, I handle caffeine fine. My mother, same thing. Metabolically, I don't really feel much. So I've had a espresso martini at 8 o'clock, and I don't even notice.
Wow.
Yeah, I can. My mother's the same way. My wife, no go, not so good. So caffeine blocks. That's I said this earlier. Adenosine receptors, and it has about a 5 to 7 hour half life. So at 2 p.m. coffee, you might still, you know, still be feeling a little amped around 10. So something to consider. There's a DNA test that will give you more insight to whether or not you are what kind of metabolizer you are of caffeine, but most of us kind of know that already, I think. All right, could be consistent with your sleep-wake cycles. So try to go to bed around the same time, wake up around the same time. That's a really, really important one. My most challenging clients have always been paramedics, firefighters, nurses are the worst. If they have that 11 p.m. shift, very challenging. Who did?
My mom.
Yeah, usually they have autoimmune issues, fertility issues. It's a whole deal. So, and again, I've had many conversations with ladies like, hey, you're sacrificing your future, your health, your longevity, your hormones are not happy. And they usually will bounce back. And you can. Just you gotta, it's hard. It's hard to live a life when everybody else is asleep. It's just very difficult. Your body's not made for that. We can adapt, but it's not going to be made for that. All right, if we can, we're try to shut off the electronics 1 to 2 hours before bed. Again, my biggest problem. But light and screens and monitors suppresses your hormone melatonin. So there is a setting here. Does anybody know that setting where it changes the blue light? So on an Apple phone, you can go to display and brightness. Hello. So if you go to display and brightness, it's somewhere night shift. So there's a night shift setting on your phone. So, buddy, how you doing?
How are you doing, Brad?
Good. Just talking about sleep.
The dark
Sleep cycle.
Yeah, it's like a dark. Yeah. So, let's. Right. There's all these different ones.
night shift.
Yeah, there's dark and light. But it's talking about options light until sunset to sunrise. It should darken your screen.
Sunset to sunrise.
Yeah, so I have mine checked, sunset to sunrise.
Right. You know where the mic's at?
What is Oh no, I don't. No. I was like, did I teach? Um, so that's GTX teaching. Um, so yeah, I have night shift 8 to 7. So it does do something here. Just play around, ask Chat GPT or something. But again, we just don't want the thing to be super bright. Right? Ideally, it's toned down a bit. That would be ideal. Do that with all your screens. All right. Exercise. Try to get exercise at 4 6 in the ideal world. Okay. Have a nightly wind down ritual. And then we have various products. So one of the things we have this month is something called LTH Dream. And that is a product that has 3 different forms of magnesium. Pretty cool product. It has ashwagandha. I cannot say this word. Phosphatidyletherine.
Pretty good.
You know that one? All right. And it's melatonin free. So one thing that everybody used to take, at one point in time was melatonin. Now we know that melatonin helps people get to sleep, but they tend to wake up. So Dr. Andrew Huberman and others were like, yeah, we're not a big fan of melatonin anymore. I've seen it myself. I used to recommend it, and then I realized that it was hit or miss for me, and then many others. Like it even could have the opposite effect where people are stimulated. So rather interesting, but we do not have melatonin here. It's actually a hormone. It's actually kind of odd that melatonin's even allowed to be in products or to be purchased because it's kind of questionable. It'd be like buying testosterone or other hormones. So now it's probably not going to be eventually sold as people have gotten more aware of what it is. But so anyway, so it's a really good product. It is so we have a product of the month here. And then every month there's a little hype around that, and there's a bit of a discount, you might say. So we do a thing called points, but it's 20% back in points on the product of the month. Okay, so you'll see that. And if you want to sample, we can sample it as well. But and then you could also take things individually. So we have magnesium glycinate here. So you could take it individually. We have a product called LTH Chill. We could take ashwagandha separately as well. I think Thorn might have a product, but L-theanine is another one. So you can break up those things. The cool thing is they're all together, and the price is actually relatively decent. It's $38 online. It's more expensive in our cafe, but 38 online, and you get 20% back in points. And if you ordered on auto ship, you get another 10%. Okay. So lastly, um, little challenge for everybody here, just good, better, best challenge. So, something if you just want to do some action steps to get a little bit better. Let's work on being consistent with our bedtime and wake time. Try to avoid caffeine after 2. Let's keep the phone out of the bedroom or at least away from the bed. Let's keep the room cool. Those are some things that we can work on. Better would be all the above, but let's try to get some sunlight within 60 minutes. Think about a wind down ritual, dim the lights, at least try to get some magnesium in. That'd be a really good one. And then even better would be consider the dream product. How about a sauna or a bath 1 to 2 hours before bedtime? We can use an Oura ring, Whoop, Apple Watch, something. And then we can even test cortisol levels here at Lifetime with our stress and resilience test and find out how off stress hormones are and get even more insight there. So I will share this document on my resource site, but there's other things that could be helpful as well. Zinc can be another helpful one, B6, but I would not take B12 at night or avoid vitamin C at night as well. So, but I will share this doc. You guys can see this later and we'll call it a day. All right.
It's just a quick question.
Yeah.
Circadian rhythm, I heard that is it that you're setting it in the morning and then at night before the sun goes down, or you're watching the sun go down, or does that have nothing to do with it? Because I didn't hear you mention the evening circadian rhythm part.
Let me shut this down real quick. So, bye guys.